Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Alright, let's get started. We're going to pick back up and start with Darth Maul, Saboteur, written by James Luceno. Now what this story is about, Sidious basically sends Maul on a mission to sabotage two rival companies so that the Trade Federation can come in and take it over. Now folks, this is actually a very good story. It actually at the end sets up the lead-in to the Darth Maul comic book series, a little mini series by Dark Horse. I'll talk about that another day. But so there is continuity in there. Now, is this a good story? Yeah, it's actually a very good short story. James Luceno, of course, as a lot of you know, is a good author. He can tell a good tale, especially when it comes to Darth Maul. And yeah, it's just like a little one-shot, because back then Darth Maul couldn't reveal himself to the Jedi, so he had to do these little missions here and there. But they were all interesting, and this one's no different. It's just as interesting as the rest of them. Now, the significance about Darth Maul Saboteur, though, is that this was the very first ebook from the Star Wars universe. They had never done ebooks back then. Now, remember, back in the day, ebooks weren't that big, okay? E-readers and stuff like that weren't that big. So this was my first one that I ever bought. I was upset about it because I was like, man, I don't want to buy a stupid ebook. I want to get it in print because I like all my stuff in print. Now, of course, later on in the trade paperback, it came out in print. But I didn't know that back then, so I went ahead and paid my $3 or however much it was and read it. And I did enjoy it and loved it. The next book you're going to read is James Luceno's Cloak of Deception. It's a fantastic book set before episode 1, basically setting up things to tell you how the Trade Federation rose to power and how Council of Valorum got unpopular or started to get unpopular within the Senate. Now it just sets things up for the movie. This book came out 2 years after the movie though. So the whole purpose of the book was just to kind of tell you what things were like or how things got to the way they were in the movie. So overall, it was pretty good. I liked it for several different reasons, and I'll tell you why. One, I love all the little cameos in it. This is the first cameo that we get to see Jor Sabath, and the real one, not just the mad, crazy clone from Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Jedi. So even though he's there for just a brief second, you just kind of go, oh, I can't believe it's him, it's really him. And this is before Outbound Flight, so we still didn't really know much about him. Now I can only assume that this has to deal with Outbound Flight, but they don't really tell us. Honestly, you just see him in passing, is what the Senate says. But it was still cool. The other really neat thing is that Senator Greebleeps, or whatever, is talked about. He's in there. Now, who is that? Spell his name backwards real quick. It's Spielberg. No, it's not actually Steven Spielberg. It's actually the E.T. characters from episode 1. They named this senator after Spielberg since he was the director of E.T. These characters are actually in the Star Wars universe. Don't tell anyone, but they're canon. Now, they come from the planet Brodo Asagi, and that's basically what they say. He's representing the planet Brodo Asagi. And where does that come from? Well, it actually comes from an E.T. children's book called, I think, The Green Planet or something. But that is E.T.'s homeworld. I love it. I love everything about this. E.T. and Star Wars share some continuity together. Now, it's not E.T. himself, of course, but his race is obviously in Star Wars. Now, should that bother people? You know, oh, I don't like that. I don't like how they're doing that. I don't care. Spielberg and Lucas are best friends. They wanted to share some a joke, a little inside joke between the two of them. I'm sure they got a good laugh out of it. I love it. it reminds me of kind of how Tolkien and C.S. Lewis were. They were good friends, and they crossed a lot of their stories. In fact, as some of you know, C.S. Lewis in the Space Trilogy gave a wink and it was a little light connection to the Lord of the Rings books. Anyway, so this one, no exception, still love it. Welcome E.T. into the Star Wars universe, or expanded universe, I should say, since they really didn't mention him in the movie. But anyway, folks, that's all the time I have for today. I will see you next week with another video.
Yups, I'm sorry about the fight. Yups? I can't read this.